Hello! New setting today because I'm on my summer vacation. This is my parents' house and particularly a board with magnetized color pop eyeshadows. So here I would like to highlight the best Baked-Gelée makeup releases for this summer or that they are coming soon, for which I'm considering investing on, although a few of them are clearly overpriced. Today, I'd like to chat with you about a few makeup releases, quite new, that are very tempting. And I'll do that from two perspectives. One is the perspective of a lover of Baked-Gelée products. What I noticed is that only a few beauty channels here on YouTube are truly selective when it comes to formulas. They care about colors, but I do care about youthful formulas. And in my opinion, the Baked-Gelée formula is one of the best in this sense because it doesn't emphasize your texture. There are different finishes in this formula, but whatever the finish, you won't have creepy skin emphasized, even if the finish is shimmery. So I love Baked-Gelée eyeshadows and face products. The second point of view is from a person that buys herself the products. Because from the videos I'm watching, I feel people talking on YouTube have lost connection with the price for these products. Nonetheless, when it comes to Baked-Gelée formulas, I can accept to pay more. Let's talk about the first one, the Chantecaille Sunstone collection. Is already there. The only way I would pick this collection is taking advantages of discounts. I wouldn't pay full price for this because here in Europe are 79 euros for just one blush. It's too much. Nonetheless, I confess that I purchased the two blushes of this collection. I started by one, Confidence, and I have a video where I compared it to Fantasy de Chanel. Confidence is very similar to that Fantasy de Chanel. I purchased one because I could find one from a secondary retailer selling extra testers. So I got it for a very good price. And I love it so much. Even more than the Fantasy de Chanel because of the satiny finish. I found it less glittery than the Chanel one. So I like it more. And I decided to pick the other blush. From here in Europe was more convenient to buy it from Cult Beauty. Because Cult Beauty has always a kind of offer that allows me to save some money. For example, spend a certain amount and you get a gift card. I take advantage of offers like this. And therefore, I picked the other one. But here with me for my summer vacation, I brought only the Confidence one, the pink one. The other one is called Energy, I think. And that one is more coral. I love the finish. So I anti-hauled this Chantecaille collection, but I have to admit that the blushes are great. So if you consider just the quality and do not consider the price, I think they are worth investing on. And that is what I did personally. I do not receive anything for free and I have a limited budget for makeup. That's why I thought about the B.O.B. mindset, buying just a few things, but the best things. Everything is subjective when it comes to what is worth and what is the best, right? But these blushes for me are the best. However, I also purchased recently the RMS blushes. And guys, I think the shimmer is a little bit more obvious compared to Chantecaille, but I love those blushes. So a cheaper option is a permanent release, fortunately. So it's even better because you can plan your purchases, you can budget and do not rush for this with this FOMO. So it's even better philosophy, let's say, better way of putting out things that are great is the RMS option. I have the blush in French Rose and I think that one is a totally valid option. Soon I will make a comparison about all my Baked-Gelée products. I need to go back home. But yeah, the Chantecaille collection is something that is overpriced. It's totally nonsense, but if you can find an offer, whatever deal on it is good quality. So quality is there. And I admit I'm also tempted by the bronzer. I wish there was, so many beauty influencers receive these Chantecaille products for free and nobody has delivered a side-by-side comparison with RMS. Maybe they are asked not to do so, but I I would have liked a comparison between the Chantecaille Sunstone bronzer and the RMS bronzer in Tan Lines. I think those are quite close, and since those Baked-Gelée products are produced by maybe just one lab in Italy, I suspected those two things are the same. And if they are, then the RMS is much cheaper than the Chantecaille, 1/3 of the price. RMS has a better value, and it's not so different from the Chantecaille Baked-Gelée. And the Chantecaille bronzer is just too expensive for me to feel comfortable to spend that amount of money on something that has an equivalent formula that costs 1/3 of the price. So it's crazy. Let's go to eyeshadows. There are 2 new releases. Both are available in some countries. One is the Bobbi Brown. They have released 2 quads, Baked-Gelée products in a formula that is like the VR formula by Pat McGrath. Those palettes, to be honest, can be duped. In many of these shades can be duped by Pat McGrath, and they are a tad more subtle version compared to Pat McGrath. But subtlety is my thing. Again, the price is doubled compared to what I think it's value of these, what I would pay for these palettes. And there's another downside, the fact that, in my opinion, are too warm toned, as usual with Bobbi Brown. But I'm attracted, especially by the star-crossed. The other one is too pink and quite dupeable. I have the whitish shade already because it was already released in a previous palette. And there's another shade there in the Milky Way palette. It is called Incandescent, that is at the top right, that has been re-released many times over. And it's also exact dupe of Pat McGrath VR Nectar in the Mothership 2 palette. Then there's a matte pink I'm not interested about. And the other shade at the bottom left would be the only unique shade in that palette. I don't know if it's worth buying just for one shade. That is also very pink toned, and I don't like pinks. So that palette is less unique. But star-crossed, if I think about carefully, there's a yellowish shade that is a plain shade. So I think I can dupe it quite well, although I like the formula of this shade. A yellow cream shade in a satin finish, so it's appealing. Then there's a matte purple shade. But the 2 stars of the show, let's say, are the top right shade, that is a pinkish shade. Honestly, I'm not interested in that, but I'm mostly interested in the bottom left shade. That one, in my opinion, is the more subtle version of VR Violet, the top right shade of the Pat McGrath Mothership Subliminal 1 palette. And that one is the shade I received the highest amount of compliments when I wear it. So you can imagine that I'm intrigued by a subtle version of it. And moreover, I like the trio of that cream yellow, that matte purple, that is quite cool toned, and also bottom left shade. So I may skip the Milky Way and choose the star-crossed instead. Another consideration I would like to share with you, although it's not a Baked-Gelée product, because I think it's a unique thought. I'm also interested in the pink blush. It's a pink satin blush and is a re-release. And I like the light pink because to me that is a better implementation of the highlighter by Patrick Ta. That pink duo is such of a girly baby pink, so fresh and youthful. But if you then swatch it and use it, the color of the pans do not translate well. The way it looks on the pan, it's amazing. I think this pink blush by Bobbi Brown is very close to the idea that Patrick Ta pink highlighter duo conveys to me. The thing is, what you see in the pan usually does not correspond to what you get on your face. That is also the most important thing. That's why that pink blush by Bobbi Brown has triggered my interest. So if I pick one quad, I may pick the blush as well. The third and last collection I'd like to talk with you, again with Baked-Gelée products, is the Dior Plan de Paris collection. The eyeshadows are Baked-Gelée. There's the pink palette, Champs-Élysées, that looks like the powder form of the Chanel 42 eyeshadow stick that has been recently released. I would rather go for the Dior one. There's the gray palette. I was thinking about layering gray shades on top of other shades to make them cooler and more taupish-like. I've always been waiting for a taupe shade in the Baked-Gelée formula, but since it seems that they cannot release taupe shades, I'm not aware of anything on the market that is a taupe in the Baked-Gelée formula. Well, having a grey is the closest shade to a taupe that I can get, and therefore I'm interested in this grey palette for that reason. Not to use the greys as they are, because they make me older, but to layer them on top of other browns. With that in mind, this greyish palette becomes interesting for me and a possible purchase. But also the Etoile palette, the blue one. I like the fact that all the blues are more indigo blues, so there's no teal, but it's a more purple blue. It looks great. I'm tempted by these three palettes. The only problem, again, same disappointing aspect that is a recurring thing for all of these releases, is the price point. I think that RMS have been more honest about the price point of these products. They're all Baked-Gelée, but RMS prices are much less inflated, while these Dior are so pricey. And do not tell me, because I've heard other shallow beauty content creators that say, oh, these are luxury prices. I do not agree, because all the other palettes in the Baked-Gelée formula by Dior were not so expensive. It's clear at this point that we are paying extra $20 just for the sleeve. Another thing, everybody is saying, oh, the sleeve is high quality. Of course, we are paying for it. We are paying extra $20 for the sleeves. But honestly, I'm not interested in the sleeves. I'm interested in the eyeshadows themselves. I'm reluctant to pay that amount of money when I know that I'm paying for something that I'm not interested in, that are the sleeves. So I don't know. I haven't placed an order yet, knowing that I'm truly burning $20 per palette just for a sleeve, for a fabric sleeve. I don't get it. I still have common sense. So there are three releases, Chantecaille, Bobbi Brown, and Dior, that are in my favorite formula. So my dilemma is buying these and avoid to buy anything else, or do not be a slave of this type of price points that are so irrespectful, in my opinion, and say no, but say no also to a dream, right, of wearing these beautiful, mesmerizing products. It's a dilemma. And I think I will end up with a compromise. And my compromise would be maybe to skip what is not truly Baked-Gelée. So skip, for example, that pink blush that I would like to include, to buy one quad instead of the two. So for the Bobbi Brown, I would buy just one quad that is star-crossed instead of both of them. And say no, for example, to the Chantecaille bronzer and buy an RMS instead to have a similar golden glow. That would be my way of dealing with this type of bad pricing of items in this amazing formula across the luxury brands. And that's what I wanted to share with you, my reasoning. I'm curious to know what you think. So these are all amazing beauty releases in the Baked-Gelée formula that would be worth investing on, but at the same time, they are now disconnected to the value. I cannot encourage to buy these things. At the same time, I want them. So I will just leave the discussion to your comments. Just a few words about the new Chanel fall collection. I heard here and there that people think that it's more of a spring collection. I don't think so. I think it's appropriate for fall because the colors looks like they are desaturated a bit. There's a kind of darkness and muted quality in these colors that are not vivid and pastel-y like the spring colors or what I usually relate to spring colors. These are fall for me, because I've seen a touch of desaturation in all the shades. In the purple quad, okay, there are two purples that are dusty purples, and that dustiness, that grayish quality, it's more fall appropriate, in my opinion, rather than spring. Also, the mustard yellow, that mustard tone is more fall, and I love the green as well. So I like that palette. The other one with the rusty colors is very fall appropriate as well. But these are very edited, photoshopped images. They look like all matte palettes, we will see. But I was just to point out and share with you my thoughts about the level of desaturation in these colors. I'm truly curious to know what you think. See you in my next video. Bye.